My wife's descent. From new job to infidelity, drugs, and tragedy, how our marriage unraveled in just 4.5 months. 4.5 months ago, my wife, 37F, landed a new job. Around the same time, she also befriended some recently arrived people. I, 36M, didn't particularly enjoy them. They were all SJW types, professional victims, and hard-bitten feminists. These ladies would scream at you for either not opening the door for them or opening it for them. Neither way was a winner. I mostly laughed it off at first, but over the past 2 months, I observed some unsettling changes in my wife. Married for 11 years, we have 2 children, 10F and 8M. Things continued to get worse. She would accuse me of all kinds of stupidity, including that I was born evil since, traditionally, men subjugated women. Everything I did for her, things she would usually value, became justification for a conflict. It all amounted to garbage. I tried to remain composed. Usually, these debates would finish with me stating something like, "I haven't done anything harmful toward you. I am only guilty of loving you." Usually, it would quiet her, and the next day she would be back, attempting the same thing with somewhat different justifications. About 5 weeks ago, I had a strong sense that things were quite wrong. She returned late at night without informing me of her delay. Her phone was unreachable. She behaved aloofly and was rather drunk. She dismissively told me the next day that I read too much into things and that I was being domineering. This pattern repeated a few more times. Though I suspected she had erased many of her messages, I tried to snoop on her phone but couldn't find anything conclusive. However, I did come across a post among one of her new acquaintances talking about how my wife would approach me about an open relationship. My gut feeling immediately told me it was adultery. In the thread, my wife mentioned she would discuss it with me on what was then the second Monday of December. Christmas was being celebrated with my children at their grandparents' house, and we were supposed to join them that day. Instead, during breakfast, she asked me what I thought of an open relationship, trying to initiate this discussion as if it were simply a thought out of the blue. Fortunately, I knew to be ready. Having been reading a lot on Reddit, I had already started recording. I understood there was absolutely no way to undo this. Getting out with some shred of pride and self-esteem intact was my best hoped-for result. From now on, my priorities were solely safeguarding the kids and myself. I stayed silent, neither yelling nor screaming. Jaw clenched, I entered interrogation mode. Straightforwardly, she was all smug up until this point, but her confidence vanished right away when she noticed my expression. Me, who is he? She, what do you mean? She attempted to project innocence, as though she didn't know what I was talking about. Me, don't treat me like an idiot. If you wish to have this talk with me, at least be sincere. If you're dishonest, what good is this conversation? She, what do you mean? Me, we cannot have the conversation you wish about our relationship if you lie to me right now. You seem to be hiding something clearly. Who then is the man? You. I am not. Me. Oh my God, there's more than one. She stammered. Me. Don't just avoid lying. You have simply completely undermined my faith in you. I can tell you're lying. Either you are honest, and we work through this right now, or I divorce you. Our marriage is over. No arguments, no debate, nothing. Exactly, divorce. Do you realize? She said, but. Me, say it. Do you follow? Do you realize I would divorce you if you lie? Say it like that. Do you realize I already know a great deal? You seem like an open book to me. If I find you lying, we are off. Tell me you understand. She said, I understand. She then related to me details about 2 one-night stands she went on with friends. I probed for their names, whether they were married, if she wore protection, etc. Both were married men with children. Then she told me she intended to pursue this lifestyle since it was beneficial for her, and I had no right to control her. She also revealed her intention to sleep with a colleague at work. What the? I also asked about the colleague, his name, and his wife's name. He is married, but, as she claimed, in an open relationship, just like she wanted us to be. She said she would arrange for some of her friends to see me. Apparently, one of them seemed rather keen. Seriously? What the hell? Having seen this friend, I wouldn't touch her with a barge pole. I told her I had little interest. When I asked for her phone, she showed me the sequence to open it. While she went to the toilet, I closed myself in my office. She flipped out when she returned, pounding on the door. I ran recovery software on the phone for deleted items and came across a lot of agonizing proof. 30 minutes later, I also downloaded a spying tool from an online vendor. When I came out, I handed her the phone and urged her to go. She persisted in her arguments, but I mainly answered with single words. Throughout all of this, she hardly seemed regretful. She was ranting at me that I was behaving controllingly, holding her back like men always kept women back, that I never loved her, that she had every right to do this, that she expected me to just accept it, and that it wasn't a big issue, etc. I refrained from responding. I really scarcely spoke at all. I simply packed her belongings while she whirled around, yelling at me. Finding myself at the front door, I waited patiently until she ran out of steam. She grudgingly headed to her parents' house at last. As she was headed down the stairs, I informed her she was single now, so she could do whatever she wanted. I could not control her anymore. I told her my lawyer would be in touch in January. As she turned to answer, I just slammed the door shut. Later on, using the monitoring tool, I observed her discussing it with her friends. They were telling her that she deserved better than me, that my threats were empty, that she was strong and demanding what she was entitled to, and that I wouldn't follow through. You want to gamble? They seemed to imply. They even told her that she could just accuse me of domestic violence if necessary to frighten me. That scared me greatly. One of them recounted accusing her ex-husband of abuse, then went into detail about how she had screwed him over and taken everything from him. Right now, I have cameras ordered for my residence. I realize I have to log everything now. Simply put, what I was seeing defied belief. I have never, ever threatened her in any capacity whatsoever. She then began messaging her AP to align their stories. They decided to convene at a hotel. I felt somewhat shocked. I searched the internet for the AP's wife. It wasn't too long before I found her online. I told her everything, including the planned hotel activities, and got her to accept me as a friend on Facebook. She hung up, grateful to me. 2 hours later, I received a video from her. She went to the motel and confronted them. From the yelling, it was clear this wasn't the first time her husband had lied. Are you doing this to me once more? To the young ones, once more? We were done if you ever did this again. I told you, she screamed. Then she entered the room and captured my wife getting ready on the side of the bed. That first time I saw my wife start to throw up, the wife of the AP smacked her and cursed her out. I messaged my wife to let her know I watched the hotel video and that I never wanted her nearby ever again. She seemed to view our interactions as some kind of pissing competition, one in which, from her perspective, she was winning. She was absolutely insane. I found nothing comprehensible. She seemed detached from reality and appeared not to fully grasp that we were separating. I informed her relatives in my wife's family WhatsApp group that her adultery was the reason we were divorcing before leaving the group chat. I thanked them for making me welcome and part of the family. I have received a few calls and messages from her side, but I haven't read them or replied. Simply put, I lack the energy for it. I told my folks everything when I phoned them. My father messaged my wife, informing her she would not be welcome for Christmas. Right now, I'm at my parents' place. I spoke with my boss, and he is allowing me time off until mid-January to straighten things out. I have been observing my wife's progressively hysterical conversations with her new acquaintances via the monitoring tool. My wife didn't seem to think she had lost her family, that her marriage was over, or that her AP didn't really give a damn about her. She messaged me a lot and even visited my parents' house, requesting to be allowed to celebrate Christmas with us. My father threatened to contact the police if she refused to leave. I'm Googling divorce attorneys right now, crying my eyes out. Though I believe I had been in shock, once I arrived at my parents' house, the agony really hit me. Simply put, I find no logical sense in it. Reading their conversations and thinking about her hurts me so much. I answered her text just twice. The first time, what you say has no bearing. I don't know your name. You do not represent my wife. My wife never would have smiled while destroying my heart and soul. We are going to get divorced. You have no influence or authority to demand anything from me ever again. What you say or wish matters not to me. We are done here. The second time, like I said, you are not my wife. You are not known to me. My wife would never subject our kids to the misery of growing up in a broken home. Whoever you are, you appear to be pleased with your work. My dearest friend, my wife, was lovely, compassionate, and thoughtful. You are an abomination of self-obsession and self-absorption. The last message stopped the others. At times, the suffering is quite intolerable. I wish none of this had occurred. Though I wish I could get back with her like previously, I simply cannot do that to myself. This is the worst Christmas I have ever had. Though I couldn't help myself, when the children inquired when their mother would visit, I told them, Mommy doesn't want to be with us anymore. She wants to be with other men, and we will divorce." I immediately blurted it out. They are inevitably unhappy. Luckily, I have my parents here to assist. They treat them with love and affection while I'm a total wreck. Though I am not going back to her ever, I will strive to get back on my feet for the sake of my children. I wish I had waited until after Christmas so I could straightforwardly enter counseling. I have no idea what happened to her. If I were to return to her, I would never be able to see myself in the mirror. Her actions clearly show unacceptable disdain and callousness. I'm gone. Simply put, I find this incomprehensible. Why should she assume she could demand anything from me right now? Is she psychologically sick or something else? I apologize for the rambling diatribe. I simply needed to let things out. Edit. I am good regarding the monitoring. I spoke with a friend's attorney who is familiar with the monitoring service that comes with the phone plan. I own the phone and the subscription, so monitoring my own gear is not prohibited since my wife is using it. Update 1. A lot has changed since I last wrote. The fact is, I've been a pitiful, crying mess since I last posted. I wish I could own it, but my wife's conversations with her friends, captured via the monitoring, drew me into some kind of obsession. These conversations revealed many crazy and nasty comments. Ultimately, though, it was when my SDBXW, soon-to-be ex-wife, detailed in very harsh terms how her marriage, and particularly her children, were a burden in her life that broke me. She felt she had been deprived of the opportunity to be a successful woman living up to her full potential. She spoke of me, her husband, describing how I was a repressive agent preventing her from leading a happy life, one that included a lucrative profession, plenty of casual sex, etc., mostly due to her family obligations. It was too much for me right now. For the next 30-ish hours, I read and reread every line of every message and conversation I had access to, over and over again. Looking back, she omitted any specifics about our actual burden or any oppressive behavior from my side. It was just general remarks without any references or proof. I have never stopped her from doing anything. Actually, I pay for practically everything. Her part-time job's minimum pay would not be sufficient for anyone. I have encouraged her interests, desires, and aspirations, even if she would constantly drop out halfway through projects or classes. Even if she did foolish actions, every day I made sure to tell her I loved her and thanked her for all she did for the family. I would take her out, romance her, and be at her side anytime she needed me. If this is oppression, then I would kindly like some. Still, I digress. At some point during this reading marathon, I must have passed out. When I woke up, my 3 closest buddies were in the kitchen with Dad, cooking dinner. These guys have been in my life since childhood. We'll call them Frank, Bob, and Mike. My dad had invited them and brought them up to date. I quickly broke down once more, and until Friday evening, I was entirely absent emotionally. Mike, an ex-military friend, lost his left arm below the elbow. We were all there for him during his recovery. His wife left him then. Fortunately, they did not have any kids. Mike did fine. He adopted 2 children and acquired a really nice girlfriend a few years ago. He arranged a Zoom conversation with his psychotherapist who supported him through his rehabilitation. He greatly helped me make sense of my emotional situation. Though the therapist focused on amputees, he told me most wives unfortunately flee after their husbands are maimed, and his experiences and lessons really helped me. He helped me see that my core identity and spiritual being were largely related to my marriage and husbandly responsibilities. That part is dead now. Like an amputee will experience phantom pain in a missing limb, I will experience phantom agony from the dead part of my identity. We talked for hours, and since then, I have been consistently better. Bob works as an executive in a security company. He's rather well off. I don't really know what he does, as he never talks much about his job. Sunday morning, after Bob contacted some law firms on retainer for his company, I was chatting with a lawyer I could never in my wildest thoughts have afforded to even talk to. Bob, who was bullied a lot and has always been a major geek, assured me he would pay the bill and I should not worry about it. He said disrupting his bullies often made him delighted, and he was finally able to pay me back for the times I defended him. Married with 7 children, Frank teaches youngsters in a private school. Exactly 7. My children just love him and his family. Frank has been keeping an eye on my children's welfare and needs while I recover and straighten things out. Yesterday was a fairly busy day. It began early in the morning with an STD screening. They handed me a positive result for chlamydia and a recommendation for another screening in 6 months. When I found out, my self-pity party changed to sheer wrath. That's it for me. Gloves off. completely customized approach. If I could get away with it, I would offer her nothing. The attorney found the ex-husband of my wife's feminist buddy, the one who boasted about screwing him over. It seemed really simple using the court records. I never would have thought of that. I conferred with him on WhatsApp. He gave me many thanks, but he also told me about what this harpy did to him. I can now project what to expect from my STBXW. It turned out to be terrible. Following our conversation, I was ready for a fight. Hearing how he had been homeless and how he had scarcely seen his children in 4 years, all based on his ex-wife's lies, was painful. I am getting ready for battle. Though I am at a disadvantage as a man in the judicial system, I will make sure I have loads of proof. Due in great part to concerns for our son's benefit, my lawyer advised a preemptive strike using a restraining order based on her harsh and aggressive remarks about men in general, captured in her messages. I'm seeking full custody, as growing up in a home with an openly anti-male parental figure is clearly very detrimental. I advised the attorney to start straight away. She expected my wife to be served with a restraining order today. Using Zoom, I spoke with my STBXW. Remember that she showed up at the door to argue with my dad, but hasn't contacted me directly at all since then. She hasn't contacted the kids or anyone else either, suggesting she doesn't seem to care about any of us. The call was utterly strange. She clearly was attempting to appear her best. She was fully done up with great cleavage. I haven't seen her looking that polished for years. She tried to get me into a fight, to make me enraged. During the whole chat, I kept myself cool rather well. My attorney had advised on what to ask for. Apparently, if efforts are made for a peaceful divorce before seeking a contentious one, things go really well in court. I had the call under recording, and I even mentioned to her that I was recording. My STBXW turned out not to be disappointing in her bizarre behavior. She began with this ridiculous claim that there are 2 kinds of penises. One type that shrinks and increases depending on whether they are erect or not, and another type roughly the same size whether erect or not. What exactly? Who opens a call to their husband like that? She then pondered how excited she was about the end of the present limitations so she could go out and personally study this phenomenon more. I said simply that I was only interested in talking about our divorce. I had no interest in her personal interests. She became quite nasty when I refrained from taking the bait as she intended. At one point, she muted herself, telling me she was off to the bathroom. I then observed her conferring with her friends via message about what she could do to me. She cursed me just for being a male multiple times over the call. I still had this weird sensation that she was seeing this as some sort of game, that she was in control, and that I had no other choice except to put up, shut up, and give in to everything she wanted. We made no improvement on our actual divorce terms, so I came to the conclusion, okay, great. A contentious divorce it is then. I added, you handed me chlamydia, by the way, and unlike you, I haven't been sleeping with anyone else. Hence, you better get yourself to the doctor. She simply scoffed at me, saying, you're lying. I don't believe you. I no longer care. I really have no idea at all what is going on with her at this point. The lawyer was startled, to say the least, when I sent her the recording. At this point, everyone finds my wife crazy. Perhaps she is. As it turns out, I can really utilize the chat logs also in court, as I own her phone and the subscription. Monitoring my own gadget as much as I choose is completely lawful. The harpies were debating fiercely in their chat following our call, but I could at last set it aside. What they discussed doesn't matter to me anymore, unless it reveals something I haven't told them about. My attorney is sure we will win this thing. There we are then. Although it still hurts at this stage, I can consider it phantom pain. I am going for the jugular, taking no prisoners. I have given up feeling guilty about myself. I have to look after my children and myself. I am fine. My children will be too. I will make sure they receive as much therapy as they demand. My STBXW will shortly be a memory, and I will begin to create a new, better life. Edit. She didn't tell me, but I discovered today through the monitoring that she knew about the chlamydia and underwent treatment. She was messaging her new buddies about it, smiling and kissing emojis included. Update 2. I received a lot of comments suggesting I am somehow winning or strong or in some other sense coming out on top. When I go over my postings, I can see that my resentment of the circumstances filters through, and I might seem too calm and certain of myself. To be honest, I am not. I want this never to have happened. I wish my family was still together and that I had a long, lazy, comfortable life ahead of me with my wife as the children mature and begin their own lives. Here, none of anyone is the winner. The whole train is burning in the ditch. My wife has gone off the rails. I'm not sure what her problem is. She is acting as though nothing is wrong, and yet refuses to see a medical practitioner for probable mental health problems. She seems not to be regretful or guilty. She behaves as though I'm irrational for not simply embracing everything she wants. She hasn't even spoken to the children since D-Day. Therefore, I am divorcing her, acting decisively, and moving forward to separate our lives. She has left me without options. By now, there is no going back. I wish so much this wasn't absolutely required. I weep myself to sleep every night for my personal loss and the knowledge that my children will now grow up in a shattered family. I can never trust her ever again. The fact that my children, in truth, no longer have a functional relationship with their mother hurts as well. From your child's perspective, why does mommy not want to see me anymore? Does she not love me? How the devil do you respond to that? Please let me know if anyone knows. I sure as hell don't. Every day I get up and tell myself that my heart is already shattered into so many broken pieces that it can never be mended, only to be proven incorrect all day, every day. She doesn't care. My wife still doesn't know I can see her messages. She is quite sure that I would never leave her and that my response to her behavior is completely irrational. She continues to disparage me, our marriage, and our children around her acquaintances. Why she hates us so much is beyond me. None of the things she accuses us of doing to her, when talking to her pals, has ever come true. My attorney secured a temporary restraining order against her, as I already noted. There was a hearing yesterday morning. Since no further direct threats were reported, it was not extended. My attorney advised using her knowledge of my infection as leverage to try to have her agree to an uncontested divorce. I hope we could split reasonably using a logical approach. I always assume the worst possible outcome and detest the fact I have to view her as the adversary. I would be able to live with her decision if she simply wanted to leave me. But why would I have to be pushed into this somewhat hostile process? Why does she want to damage the individuals who used to love her as much as feasible during the process? What likely benefits could she possibly get from this? I would value any analysis on this. Simply put, it makes no sense to me. If I visit court, I most likely will have to pay her a lump sum payment for the equity in our house, etc. Since she shows little interest in the kids, I'm hoping I will gain custody of them. If it gets to court, I will most likely not be liable for alimony either. My attorney advised us to try to get her agreement for a friendly divorce. I agreed. Perhaps this week we can meet with my STBXW and her representative, the ex-husband, Henry, who fell for the lying harpies, Henrietta's, stories, stayed New Year's Eve with the kids and myself. It is simply amazing how unfairly the legal system treats fathers. Now, should we go to court, I have no fantasies of a fair procedure. His ex lied her head off. The court simply accepted it as reality without any evidence at all. He has not seen his children since. He almost buckled under the pressure of paying irrational amounts of child support and alimony. He had been musing about permanently calling things off. He has hope again with the fresh data he gets from me, by the monitoring of my wife's phone where her friends discuss things. Together, we spoke with my lawyer. She advises him to sit on the evidence until after the meeting between my wife, her counsel, if any, and my lawyer. If he acts right now, it will alert them that we have access to all their communications. My lawyer wants to complete the divorce between my wife and me as quickly and as seamlessly as possible. Right now, I only hope I can get away from her. Should she choose to fight, it may stretch on for an endless period and cause great anguish. All I need is freedom. I will post an update if I schedule a meeting or if we proceed straight to a contested procedure in court. Update 3. Sadly, strange circumstances still exist. Yesterday afternoon was my meeting with my SDBXW and her lawyer. She showed up 30 minutes late and omitted bringing a lawyer, stating she neither had nor needed one. Rather, she brought one of her new harpy buddies. My attorney had given me rather clear directions on behavior. I was not to respond negatively to whatever they said. If they approached me, I was to answer in a non-confrontational way or, if at all possible, favorably. I had to keep my mouth shut entirely if my lawyer laid one or both of her hands flat on the table. So, they arrived late, without masks naturally. My SDBXW followed the harpy's lead and tried to offend me and rile me in each manner she could have thought of. My attorney tried to start the conversation on the current topic, our divorce, but they were just fooling about. Many times, they chuckled at their own disparaging remarks directed toward me. Watching it made one truly disgusted. My wife still thinks this is all a hoax. Hence, it is obvious that she believes I cannot divorce her. Only she, in her opinion, can divorce me, and only if she so chooses. Should she do so, she expects she will have everything. I sat there wondering, what the hell is going on? I said nothing of much significance. I answered just a few times, and my responses fit the yes, you're probably right, or I really don't know categories. At last, they ran out of steam, and my attorney got a word in edgewise and began to present the suggested amicable divorce settlement. She first claimed that I would pay my wife a sizable lump sum of $60,000 for the equity in the property, investments, etc., and that I was ready to be generous for a fast, peaceful resolution. My lawyer hardly finished the sentence before my SDBXW became all enthralled, pushed on by the harpy next to her. My attorney inquired several times whether my SDBXW wanted to sign straight away without first reviewing the rest of the agreement. Where do I sign? My SDBXW kept asking. No, she said, regarding reviewing it first. She began mentioning their desire to get to the pub and when she might anticipate getting the money. My attorney thus summoned someone in, muttered something to them, and there was a frenzy of action. An older woman requested our identity paperwork, and we were asked to sign 2 copies. After we were done, the elderly lady stamped it. I subsequently learned she was a notary. At this moment, my attorney thanked my SDBXW and the harpy and said to them we were done. My wife practically skipped out without even carrying her copy of the agreement with her. She left it on the table. My lawyer looked at her flat hands on the table and then at me, clearly signaling she wanted me to keep quiet while they were still inside the building. When we could see them crossing the parking lot, my lawyer smiled at me and said, "Congratulations." She then went into great detail on how this was the strangest session she had ever attended for a negotiated divorce. She informed me she will forward the copy meant for my SDBXW to her upon a hearing before the judge, or should she obtain a lawyer requesting it. It was kept in my lawyer's drawer until then. On the surface, then, I seemed to be going through this divorce a lot more easily than I first imagined. My SDBXW can still fight this and get legal counsel. My lawyer advised me she would try to call in every conceivable favor she could think of to get us a hearing with a judge as quickly as possible, probably by video conference. After the advice I received on Reddit, I also hired a PI. Yesterday, he showed pictures of my wife kissing 2 separate people at 2 different bars. She then checked into a hotel with one of them. I have a lot of proof stacked up should I need it. If such comes to pass, I simply hope it is sufficient. Just $60,000 and I'm free. My wife agreed to provide me complete custody, only a one-time payment, no spousal maintenance, nothing. I simply have to find the money now. I have a strategy, and Bob volunteered to front me the whole sum should I need it. I still don't sense this as being real. I completely expect her to pull the "here's my aggressive lawyer, and I'm accusing you of molesting the kids and domestic abuse" trick out of her hat. My attorney advised me to continue paying for everything I always pay for, keep a very low profile, and not even gently rock the boat. The advice is to simply wait, avoid talking to anyone we both know, react to nothing basically, zero initiative until the hearing. I only have to remain patient and hope for the best right now. Update 4. So, yesterday was the hearing. I consider myself to be essentially divorced. The paperwork will take 4 to 6 months to be official, but at this stage, essentially nothing anyone can do to alter the result. My wife and my own stopping it jointly is the only alternative. I am really weary. I haven't slept in I'm not sure how many days. Hence, if I'm somewhat erratic, I'm sorry. I simply have to clear this all out. I have to blow off some steam. After I type everything out, hopefully, I will be able to fall asleep. 12 days after turning in the documentation, my great attorney scheduled an early hearing. She certainly made some favors calls on this one. I am digressing. It has been crazy from the weekend forward to today. Early Friday morning, many police personnel appeared at my door with a warrant to search the house. I felt somewhat perplexed. Concerned for the children, I asked whether I could bring them outside while they conducted their search. Thank goodness, they agreed to that. They hardly told me anything, although I did get a copy of the warrant. I was so rocked that I couldn't really make any sense of it. Everybody who claimed that the behavior of my ex-wife was most likely drug-related was correct. One may say that drugs at least had a part in this. The police started utterly destroying my residence. When I phoned my attorney, she spoke with them. Unfortunately, at the time, there was nothing that could be done since the warrant was current. Though I never gave it any thought at the time, I now have cameras all around in case I get falsely accused. I have sound and videos covering everything. Should I wish, I may possibly file a claim later. To be really honest, I'm not sure whether I have the will or energy for it. Perhaps I will simply draw a line under it and carry on. It turned out my ex and her 3 harpy buddies drove my car while drunk and high, slamming into a house at great speed. I knew nothing about this then. They all had narcotics in and on their bodies. They were all intoxicated, and they all were detained. The crash treated them really roughly. The passenger seat occupant is in critical condition. They have no idea whether she will even make it. Let us call her Henrietta. She was the lead harpy who boasted about lying about her ex-husband, Henry, in court and screwing him over. I now live somewhat close to him. Thank goodness the search turned up nothing. I explained that my ex moved in with her parents. She no longer resides here. I have no idea what she is doing. No, I never let Henrietta use my car, etc. I simply collapsed when I returned to the house. Everything was absolutely destroyed. I suppose it was just the last straw. I could only think of calling my dad, who brought the kids and me home to remain with my mother. While I was crying on the back porch, eating my mom's incredible comfort food, and feeling bad about myself, my dad gathered a huge group, including 26 friends and family. They restored and cleaned my house totally. They cleaned every room, including clothes, dishes, furniture, even the walls and ceiling. Never has it been this tidy. They even corrected all the minor issues, such as wobbly door hinges, etc. I simply couldn't fathom they would do such a thing for me. How I can ever pay them back is unknown. Thanks to my friends and family, during the weekend, I went from feeling suicidal to feeling really supported. A search of Henrietta's residence revealed more drugs, and her partner was absent. No babysitter either, just the kids alone. CPS picked up the children, and on Saturday, Henry was granted temporary emergency custody after showing the judge the chat logs, which my wife's friends shared amongst themselves, detailing Henrietta's schemes against Henry, together with evidence of abandonment and piles of drugs. He was granted custody really easily. Henry has scarcely seen his children for the past 5 years. He is over the moon, delighted. He had been gathering funds to fight Henrietta in court at the time. He still has to visit court to finalize things, but right now, the chances are really favorable. Everyone believes Henrietta will have to serve time. If her companion also serves time, it will likely be serious. Henry will next try for recompense for all Henrietta put him through and recoup back child support, though he isn't expecting much on this. To be honest, I believe he doesn't want to waste his time battling in court. He wants to be with his children and see to it that they lead happy lives. Henrietta has been somewhat negligent toward them, quite obviously. Bob has been fantastic and arranged for Henry to rent a flat through a buddy. I now understand that concerning Bob's personal or professional life, I know absolutely nothing. I am going to correct that. Still, I find myself off course once more. Henrietta was behind the wheel when they drove off the road and into a house. They were all injured, and given the circumstances, the drugs and the alcohol search warrants were issued for everyone's house. My ex still used my house as her residence address on paper. I made the decision on Sunday to sell this house and start living far away immediately. I fear this will most likely recur otherwise. She called me on Sunday from her parents' place. Their residence underwent a search as well on Saturday. They visited their daughter in jail, and they no longer believe anything she says to them. Long story short, she has been lying to them about everything. She told them she was staying with me and that we were trying to work things out. They knew nothing about the evenings she has been out partying and cheating, or what she had done to the kids or herself, or what was really happening. She admitted she cheated, but she basically told them it was a one-time intoxicated error. My wife contacted me Monday, trying to convince me to post bail. Her parents had already told her no. It was $15,000. Following our conversation, my attorney created some documentation declaring that the bond amount would be deducted from the settlement sum until she shows up for court and it is released. Her mother was listed in the agreement as the custodian of the leftover funds. My lawyer wanted me to get my wife out, as she wanted her to have no justification for skipping the hearing. My ex signed, as she had no options. Monday afternoon, she was let go. Her parents told me she refused to follow their criteria for her to continue living their terms like ceasing drugs, committing to rehab, adopting an open everything policy, abandoning the bad pals, etc. She supposedly left their residence Tuesday to hang around with some of her new buddies. She missed the hearing. After presenting the judge everything, including the incidents over the weekend, I was granted complete custody. The agreement we signed guides the settlement. The hearing itself was quick, just 30 minutes. Although it will take 4 to 6 months to pass the paper mill, this is actually done. Not really much can be done to stop this now. That takes us to now. I couldn't seem to go to sleep. Everyone was praising me and acting as though I had achieved a significant triumph, but it sure as hell doesn't feel like a victory I want. Anything right now is only suffering. I still find great love for my wife. I am sure it is over and that there is no going back. She was my best friend, my soulmate, up until lately, and even if I feel my love for her has been fatally damaged, it still aches terribly. In this, there are no winners. I lose. So does my wife. My children lose. I don't really have the words. I feel as though I should be celebrating, but it's like I lost both of my legs, yet because I acted swiftly, one leg might have been cut below the knee while the other remained cut above it. It seems almost like that when people compliment me, like they are praising me for saving half a kneecap while losing both of my legs. I thus cannot really sleep, and when I do, I am caught in horrible dreams that wake me covered in cold perspiration. I apologize, I am just rambling a little here. Still, the hospital called today to let me know my ex is hospitalized. She is still on my health insurance, and I remain her emergency contact. She will have to remain for observation for a few days. She has lost some teeth and damaged her jaw. When I got there, it turned out some of her new friends had rather brutally beaten her up. Word got out among her friends that Henry had chat logs of Henrietta boasting about what she had done to Henry, the ones I passed him. Believing my wife had given the logs to Henry, they thrashed her and kicked her out. She still doesn't seem to realize that I have access to check her phone. Quite amazing. I brought her parents. Until I get the paperwork in hand, I will continue to pay for her insurance, her phone, etc., just as I do now. I simply won't believe it's over until I can see it right before me. At the moment, she has nothing. She asked if she could perhaps return home. I said simply, no way in hell. Unless she gets clean and stays clean for at least 1 year. Her mother is not giving her 1 penny. They offered her the option to live with them under the former tight restrictions. I find it difficult to picture her managing if she rejects their offer. Since everything started, this is the first time I have seen any remorse from her, but I believe it is regret that she can no longer sustain her madness. She did remark, I am sorry I ruined everything, but I doubt that is sincere. She scarcely turned to look at me during my visit. Seeing her in this state hurt. She is an adult. Hence, even though I wanted to shield her, I have to shield my children from her risky and erratic actions. Other than that, she showed no interest in the hearing outcome. She did not inquire about the state of her friend who had been gravely hurt. She sat there, apparently annoyed, basically inert. This still doesn't make sense. She is now devoid of everything. For what reason has she wrecked her family and caused great suffering for so many people? A buzz and some haphazard sex? Until she has been clean for a lengthy period, I am going totally no contact and see. Simply put, I cannot handle all this insanity. Update 5. Many people private messaged me asking for an update. I simply lacked the energy yesterday when I was supposed to post one. I feel quite gloomy and rather exhausted. I barely sleep, and when I do, dreams haunt me. The good news is the youngsters are improving. My dad is a champion. I have no idea what I would do without him. This weekend, just me, him, and the children visited his cabin to ski a little. It was fantastic. I hardly contacted my ex at all. I did speak with one of her harpy friends, the one who was in critical condition, not Henrietta. She woke up, but she looked absolutely horrible. Her nurse told me she was depressed since no one had cared to check up on her while she was there. They had just turned away from her. After getting in touch with her relatives, I asked the nurse if I might speak with her. She consented. Although I know I shouldn't have, I thought I should find out from her what had transpired since my wife started working with them. I am concerned the people who beat up my ex might come for me and the kids. She asked me first whether I wanted a BJ for $20, so that was not very embarrassing. Instead, I gave her $50 in return for information. Every one of the Harpy pals is a serious drug user, addicts. Henrietta brought my wife into their group against the wishes of the other two and persuaded her to do drugs and party with them. To pay for narcotics, they sold sex favors. Henrietta is the main one, though, as the friend said, it's all to protect our own imagined egos. They all advocate this strong feminist, my own body approach. We truly prostitute themselves for money to get drugs. First, my wife bought into their ideology, and it didn't take long before she developed an addiction like the rest of them, mostly meth, from what she tells me. Once she became hooked, she started selling sex to pay for drugs. Hearing that about the person you loved more than anything, selling herself to feed her drug addiction is not easy. It makes sense now why she desired money. Now, this friend has stolen, cheated, mistreated, and lied to everyone in her life. Hence nobody visits her. Nobody wants anything to do with her. She told me, devoid of even a blink, how depressed she felt about surviving. She looks like walking death without cosmetics and hopes for nothing for the future. It hurt listening to her. It broke me. I shed a lot of tears for my wife's sake. I'm not excusing her. She chose to play with fire. She lost. She shall now pay the cost. I'll go back to her situation later. This friend also told me everything about the guys that beat up my ex-wife. Henrietta has been charged with death threats, resistance to arrest, drug possession, prostitution, drug trafficking, child abuse and neglect, DUI, property damage, and auto theft. She will most likely go away for a while. At least I hope she will, as she has been denied bail due to being a flight risk. I want to thank all of you who contacted me with expertise handling addicts. Before I begin, many cautioned me that given the walls closing in, my ex might attempt suicide now. You were right. She tried to purposefully overdose. I had previously spoken with her father about the great possibility she might attempt something. We agreed to keep a close eye on her. Fortunately, she still did not know I had live data from her cell phone. Saturday, we were in the cabin, and I received a message from her phone's monitoring app that seemed to be a suicide note. She told me about the addiction, the prostitution, how she let everyone down, that she would do the only thing she could, etc. I got her whereabouts via the mobile monitor and quickly phoned her dad. Her father raced outside and discovered her comatose on a park seat. She was driven straight to the hospital and pumped. She was rather hypothermic as well. Imagine what would have occurred had he come just a bit later. I shudder. For now, they have her on methadone. She can no longer refuse treatment, as her father has effectively been declared her guardian due to her abandonment of her children, not for her OD attempt. Apparently, giving up your children shows you are not logical, but trying to stop your own life is acceptable in the eyes of the law regarding guardianship. She will undergo a sedated detox. Her father had her forcefully taken to a rehab clinic. I'm not sure when, but most likely this week. Still, she will receive therapy. Fortunately, I have not had an opportunity to terminate her life insurance yet. I have volunteered to my father-in-law to assist with the finances, as long as my ex isn't told that I am involved. The individuals who beat up my wife made me rather afraid, as they might come after the children and me. Recall, Henry showed conversation logs in court. They thought my wife had sent them to him. Since Henry gained from the revelation, I spoke with him, and he agreed to rectify this. I'm not sure whether I mentioned this, but Henry is an enraged, manly meat mountain. He grew up on a farm, lugging goods since he was a small child. Hence he resembles the Hulk and could probably split the typical guy in half. Let's just say he is somewhat terrifying if you do not know him. He has to bend down walking through doors, has a crew cut, and some facial scars. Actually, he is incredibly soft, patient, and compassionate, though I don't doubt he will use force if he thinks it necessary. For him, it's a last choice. Still, he visited the boys' residence, a real dive by the sounds of it. He grabbed the two guys by the neck and informed them that Henrietta had given in the chat logs, and that since they hurt someone they knew based on bad info, they had a choice to make. Go with him to the police and confess everything related to the assault, or face him right there and expect some very severe, permanent injuries if they chose option 2. He let them know he was rather optimistic they would go with option 2. Apparently, they couldn't get to the police quickly enough. Obviously, I am not bothered about them anymore. I will shortly be moving after finding a new apartment. Bob once more came through. Overall, I am somewhat depressed. This is heavy on my spirit. My friends and family keep me going. I know I have to be strong for the kids. My heart hurts for my ex, despite everything. Although I still love her, I know we cannot get back together. There is simply too much hurt between us. Hence, I am not regretful of marrying her. She is not the person she once was. Before all the suffering lately, we led quite a wonderful life. Without her, I would not have my children, and I would not give them up for anything either. I know it will hurt for a long time. Hopefully, I am strong enough to go through it. Oddly enough, knowledge of my wife's addiction has helped my children cope. Talking about mom's illness is much simpler, that she is sick and will take a long time to recover, that she still loves them, etc., etc. Right now, I am exhausted and depressed. We are going to watch Madagascar 3. Henry is here with his kids. I am working to create as many wonderful fresh memories as I can. Henry is doing the same. His and my children now seem to be doing far better. We'll be good, I believe. Appreciate all of your help, everyone here. I believe this will be my last post. Last update. My ex died in the rehabilitation center. She must have taken drugs while there somehow, but nobody really knows how she acquired them. One physician conjectures that she ingested something, like a bag, and that it ruptured. I will not be answering comments or posting going forward. I appreciate all of the useful comments and ideas you supplied.